I had inherited this studio from a photographer, and it was in a wicker armchair that I sat, thinking of you until morning. It got very cold at daybreak. Rough-cast paintings gradually floated out of the murk into the dusty haze. One of them, your likeness, was propped against the nearby wall. Having ushered in the morning, a squinty, wretched morning, I started laughing, and I had no idea why. Perhaps it was simply because I had spent the entire night sitting in a wicker armchair, thinking of you. Here's the kind of feeling I would experience whenever your name was mentioned in my presence. A bolt of black, a scented, forceful motion. That's how you threw back your arms when adjusting your hair. Long had I loved you. Why? I know not. With your deceitful, savage ways, dwelling as you did in idle melancholy. Recently I had come across an empty matchbox on your bedside table. On it there was a small funeral mound of ashes and a cigarette butt, a coarse, masculine one. I implored you to explain. You laughed unpleasantly. Then you burst into tears, and I, forgiving everything, embraced you and pressed my eyelashes to the warm black silk. After that, I did not see you for 2 weeks. The winter morning shimmered in the breeze. The clouds were scudding, rupturing, fleetingly revealing an astonished gossamer blue. The day before I had spoke to you on the phone. It was I who had given in and called. We had agreed to meet today at the Brandenburg Gate. Your voice, through the bee-like hum, was remote and anxious. It kept sliding through the distance and vanishing. My love for you was the throbbing, welling warmth of tears. That is exactly how I imagined paradise. Silence and tears, and the warm silk of your knees. This you could not comprehend. I reflected while I waited that you would probably not come to the rendezvous, and that if you did, we would quarrel again anyway. I knew only how to love and how to paint. This was not enough for you. By a wall across the way was a young homeless man behind a collection of trinkets which he was selling. He too was waiting. I wondered which of us would wait longer and who would come first, a customer or you. People passed ceaselessly by the young man. Some would glance at his wares, but never more than that. The man would tense every nerve and fix his bright eyes on the passerby, as if transmitting a thought. Buy it, buy it. But the other, after a quick survey of his collection, walked on, and he, with seeming endurance, lowered his eyes and went back to the book he was holding in his lap. I did not believe you would come, but I waited for you as I had never waited before. I imagined that if I took a peek around the corner, I would see your seal fur coat and the black lace hanging from your hat brimmed down over your eyes, and I deliberately did not look, cherishing the self-deception. I felt the waves of a hostile chill on my chest. No customer had appeared. How could I think that you would? It would be a real miracle if you would arrive now. The homeless man placed a marker in his book and paused as if lost in thought. He was probably not very warm in those ragged clothes. You had promised you would come. I remember the phone call and the fleeting shadow of your voice. God, I wanted to see you. Suddenly the door to a shop opened, and a young woman hailed the dirty young man. With a relaxed motion, the woman handed the young man a steaming mug, and with a smile withdrew. It was coffee, judging by the steam that arose from it. Then he began drinking. I have never seen a person drink with such utter, profound, concentrated relish. He forgot his stands, his trinkets, the chill wind. He just sipped, sucked, and disappeared totally into his coffee. Exactly as I forgot about my vigil and saw only the man's torn shirt, bliss-dimmed eyes, the tired, freezing hands clutching the warmth of the mug. And as I watched, a dark, sweet warmth poured into my soul. My soul, too, was drinking and heating itself from the same cup. He finished, snatched up one of his trinkets, one of the finer ones, in fact, and hurried to the store. He softly tapped on the glass. The woman answered and took his gift and smiled. She then turned into the interior, slowly shutting the door behind her. Here I became aware of the world's tenderness, the profound beneficence of all that surrounded me, the blissful bond between me and all of creation, and I realized that the joy I had sought in you was not only secreted within you, but breathed around me everywhere. In the speeding street sounds, in the hem of a comically lifted skirt, and in the simple exchange of gifts between two strangers in the cold. I realize that the world does not represent a struggle at all, or a predacious sequence of chance events, but shimmering bliss, beneficent trepidation, a gift bestowed on us and unappreciated. There was no point in waiting any longer. I departed along the darkening streets, peering into the faces of passers-by, capturing smiles and amazing little motions. The bobbing of a young boy running with his mother, a student oblivious to the cold, a worker tirelessly shoveling the snow from the walkway, a pair of cars gently gliding together over the icy roads, and an old woman quietly returning home. I captured and collected all of it. Then I recalled the coziness of my studio, the muscles, foreheads, and stands of hair that I had painted, and felt in my fingers the subtle tingle of my thoughts starting to paint. A bus clanged past, its windows agleam with amber. I hopped aboard as it passed and began warming my frostbit hands. The people in the car looked sullen and swayed sleepily. We were clattering along a street lined with noisy chestnut trees, and I kept imagining that the boughs were lashing the windows. And when the tram stopped, one could hear overhead the chestnuts plucked by the freezing wind, knocking against the roof. Knock, then again, resiliently, gently. Knock, knock. Then the bus would start again, the gleam of street lamps shattered in the wet glass. And with a sensation of poignant happiness, I awaited the repetition of those meek, lofty sounds. Knock, knock, knock.